Okay, we're continuing with the book here, Best of the West in Art, Music, Movies, and Books by me, Pete Rogers. This is part 59, video number 59 from this book, part 12 of the section, the chapter on paintings from the 1800s. Okay. So this painting, the first one here, is Reflections on the Thames by John Atkinson Grimshaw, 1880. It's a beautiful painting. There's something sort of serene about the water in the evening, the moonlight. Okay, the next thing is a painting of Westminster Abbey by Canaletto in 1749. And yeah, it's a beautiful building because it's, Christian, the really Catholic sort of, the cathedrals. The other thing you notice is they'll have secular ceremonies in there, and it's actually good for a society to do that. Sometimes you could say, well, they shouldn't put secular people in there, but if they're just celebrating heroes of literature and culture and art, which to a large extent they do, they'll put their great scientists in there, their great writers in there. I think that's actually a good thing, but they're not the same thing. When you start putting your rulers in there, that's bad, because then they're going to take over the religion. I don't like that. Like King James, in the King James Bible, he wanted to be in charge of the church. I don't like that. Anyways. Canaletto did some pretty good, nice paintings there. Okay, now here is a painting of, Christians looking at their art museum. And this is unique to Christians. Other religions don't do this, okay? First of all, so-called, Buddhism, Confucianism, and Hinduism, those aren't real religions. Those are like atheism. They're like philosophies, okay? The second thing is, even the cavemen painted, but other cultures don't paint. When it comes to art and culture, they're Philistine. This multiculturalism is a big lie. It's a gaslighting trick that's thrust upon the Christians by communism as a trick to make them give up their culture. Oh, we're all equal. Let's get rid of your art and replace it with modern art that everybody's okay with. No, it's all fake. You should know that there's tons of paintings like this. You will find tons of them because it is normal for Christians. They love this stuff. The ancient Greek statues, the Roman statues. This is all connected to our culture and our history, and we should preserve it. We should be teaching our young people about it, okay? I got so many of these paintings, I don't even know who made them because they get me confused. This one's by Zolfani, 1782, but I got tons more. I got one of them on the cover of this book. I don't know. Usually Giovanni Panini is one of my favorite artists making these things, the Italian guy, but let's see what's coming next. The next one is going to be, I like this one from, England. This is Private Viewing at the Academy, and there's Oscar Wilde, Mr. Big Mouth, clever art, historian, aesthetics. He was a leader of the aesthetic movement, and he talked about art for art's sake. But the problem is, once you go down that path of art only for art's sake, then it's going to lose its meaning. So what made art great is that it's Christian. But of course, you can make art about other things that you like, a great sporting event or some other great cultural event, King Arthur's Knights. King Arthur and the whole round table stuff is really Christian. But anyways, I liked Oscar Wilde because he was an Irish guy, and he went there and he was the best playwright in all of England, the best writer. He's got tons of great quotes, about as many quotes as any great writer that ever lived. In the end, he screwed himself up. He became an alcoholic, abandoned his family, which was a disaster. But, for a while there, he was really great. I'll give him credit for that. The Importance of Being Earnest is one of the all-time great plays. Okay, here's Picture Gallery of Rome by Giovanni Paolo Panini. And that's the one I got on the cover of this book here. Or I got one just like it, okay? That's a masterpiece because he's got more than one painting like this. Picture Gallery of Views of Rome from 1757, the era of neoclassicism. Okay, kind of coming out of the Baroque era there in art. Okay, the next one is a painting of Charcot at the Salpêtrière. He's a very famous French neurologist. And he's the guy who described multiple sclerosis. Then he started working in hypnosis. And he had this lady, Blanche Watkins, okay, and she would, have her little fits, okay, and then Freud went and studied with him. So he's a real famous, Charcot. All right, so anyways, next painting here is The Architect's Dream. This is by Thomas Cole, the founder of the Hudson School of Artists in America, one of the greatest all-time landscape painters that ever lived. And the architect's dream, in their mind's eye, they see this and look at the architecture. It's totally classical style, Greek and Roman, inspired by the Acropolis and beyond. Okay, so the artist gets in his mind's eye the idea he's going to make, and there's a church right there, right next to it. He gets into his mind's eye, he's going to create this beautiful civilization, and there it is, the consummation of empire. This is a series of paintings called The Course of Empire by Thomas Cole. And it's magnificent, it's beautiful, the golden age, like the United States, let's say, from like certainly in the 1970s and 1980s, okay? And it's magnificent, it's prosperous, it's rich, it's civilized, it's Christian. And then, here's what happens when the society loses its faith in its gods that unified them. Now they become weak and they're overrun and stuff gets burned down and destroyed. The women get, captured, raped. That's the way it goes. This is the way it always goes. This is the way it's going to go if things keep going in the same direction they've been going. And hopefully things will turn around. I don't know what's going to happen. And then it ends up in a desolation and a ruin. That's where things are headed. All the churches and nice buildings burned down. And then after that, barbarians take over and they impose slavery. That's what happens. That's what almost always happens in these situations. So hopefully it won't come to that. I'll show you some more optimistic paintings the next time, but realistically, this is what most often happens, so hopefully it won't. That's where things are trending, but it's not too late to make things better. Let's hopefully do that. Okay, that's it for today.